They're actually live bats that are flying around me. Now, the cool thing about them is they are lesser fruit bats, meaning that they are frugivores. They eat mangoes, bananas, small fruits, and they play a very important role in the ecosystem, not just in the natural environment, so to speak, but the urban environment as well. Any of these flowering plants, anything out here that needs to be pollinated, the fruit bats are actually pollinators and seed dispersers. So the fact that there are successful new mango trees or new banana trees are due in part to the fact that these bats are out here doing what they do to remove the fruits, eat the seeds, digest that, and then their droppings, they, of course, leave it to grow somewhere else. And then among that is also the fact that while they're rooting around getting their fill of the fruits, they're getting pollen on themselves. And as they get the pollen on themselves, they go from one plant to another plant and they pollinate other plants. I'm going to turn the camera around actually because it'd be a lot better if you can actually see them. They do tend to hang out during the daytime, sleeping in dark areas. That's like this tree up here is probably a few bats during the daytime, but mostly they're in the kind of the abandoned homes or the homes that are currently not occupied, and they're up in the rafters where the roof meets the ceiling, and you can see that kind of damage impacts a lot of homes. And in Jakarta, you can see the holes that kind of lead to the lair of the bats. Now, each of these colonies are going to be, they vary in size. They can be dozens, they can be up to hundreds. It depends on how much resources are available to keep that colony thriving. And yeah, at the moment, there's still a few bats flying around. They've kind of gone a little bit higher up into the sky. And what happens is, as they go up, they're actually searching the area. They're looking for different food sources because they don't want to go to the same fruit trees over and over again. That would be a losing proposition for them. Their survival instincts tell them that they need to spread out and find different sources of food at different times. In a way, it's like crop rotation if you think about it. So I'm going to walk a little further down. There's another area where the bats actually come out. And as I'm walking, they're very likely to fly over my head and around me. There's one actually circling right now and going around, and it's going down the street at the moment. So as I walk, there's a good chance we'll run into them. I got to be careful. Of course, it's traffic time right now. People are coming home. It's Sunday here, so end of the weekend, so maybe not as bad as a weekday. There's a little stray cat here, and we'll say hi. Hello, Kuching. How you doing? You doing okay? Good. Yeah, see, there's a bat in front of me flying around. Went up in this tree here. Now, the cool thing about the lesser fruit bats is they do not echolocate. They're not hunting insects. They're not flying around using echolocation. They're actually flying by visual orientation and using their smell, their sense of smell, which is very acute because, of course, being frugivores, they need to know where the fruits are. And as we look around, yeah, my phone is not going to do that great of a job as if I zoom in because they move very rapidly, and the lesser fruit bats are actually very small. So when you think about a flying fox, which is also endemic to Indonesia, the flying fox has this giant wingspan, about a meter across, and the non-lesser fruit bat, so like regular fruit bat, if you want to call it that, is going to have a 30 centimeter wingspan. The lesser fruit bat's even smaller than that. So its wingspan for an adult can be somewhere in the range of conversion here. I'm not going to do the metrics. I'll do it in imperial. So their wingspan could be typically around maybe 10 inches at the most. So they're very small, and they have kind of a cute little dog face. There's a couple of them. Now, they do have a lot of competition for resources. So one of the things that's going to happen is, while I stand here, it'll look like they're coming after me, and they're actually not. They are trying to get rid of their competition. They're telling the other bats to go away, and I'm just kind of in the middle of it because this is a very hot spot area for them. And each night I'll see at least 30 bats over here in this tree coming and going. I don't believe it in and of itself. That tree is not actually a fruiting tree, but I do believe that they hang out there during the daytime. I haven't seen them. I probably will take out my thermal camera at some point and give that a go during the daytime and see if I can find them while they're sleeping and not disturb them. So here you have it, live on camera, getting attacked by the fruit bats. Actually, not attacking me. A little bit of clickbait on my part, but you know, the first time it happened, because I don't come from an area where bats are very common. Originally, I grew up in Germany, and and so when I got here and I'm walking down the street in the late afternoon and early evening, and all of a sudden bats are buzzing over my head about 2 feet or whatever, a meter over my head. It kind of freaked me out a little bit in the beginning, but I love nature, I love animals, so it also gave me a big thrill. The whole concept that I live somewhere where these are urban dwelling wild bats. They're not bats that live far out in some forested area. They're not living in the mangroves. They are literally in my neighborhood. This is the end of my street, actually, down here. So, I see them all the time, and they are amazing creatures, and they have a lot of benefits and some drawbacks. Like I said earlier, they do damage to homes. They can be disease carrying. So anything that's zoonotic to humans, or even to other animals or whatever, they can pass that along, and that's the dangerous. But it's not common. They're not aggressive. They're very shy, and typically, unless you provoke them or startle them, you're not going to come into a situation where they're going to go out of their way to bite you, even though they're going to fly right over my head, and sometimes I worry that they're going to touch me. And the reason I would be concerned about that isn't just hysterical ignorance. It's actually the fact that the vapors from their breath and their saliva, if they are carrying one of those zoonotic diseases, could very easily infect me at that point if I were to breathe it in. It's not likely, but it has happened, and it could happen. So I kind of keep that in mind. I'm not always the best about protecting myself when I get excited and I see the wild animals flying around. I start taking out my camera, which I have with me. You guys haven't had to put up with me snapping pictures, but I normally do. And yeah, that's basically it. So I'm going to start heading back. It seems like they have a pattern where at the very beginning of the transition, when the sun goes down and the moon comes out, they're very active for a while, and then they kind of find out where they want to be, and they hang out there, and they're not flying around quite as much the darker that it gets until the morning starts to happen, and then around early morning they start coming back out. So we're going to walk back down the street, back down towards my end of the street, and I will pass a house actually that has a lot of damage. It's a abandoned house, and it has a lot of damages from the bats. They use the house as a roost sometime. So this house here, you can see where they've torn up the bottom of the ceiling or awning or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, they'll come in and out of that. They don't do it as much right now, but they did it last year quite a bit. All right, guys, that was our bat adventure. That was me getting attacked by bats. If you missed that part of it, go back, watch the beginning of it. I appreciate you being here. If you get a chance, go ahead and like and subscribe. There's a lot on my channel. I do a lot of nature stuff. I do a lot with wild animals here in Indonesia, but I've also been a wildlife photographer and a wildlife journalist for a long time. There's stuff from Africa and the Pacific Northwest and Florida and Canada, China. So just take a look at my channel. And thanks for joining me. See ya.